Alright, so devlog number 2 for Sun Parasites. I will cut straight to the chase here and upload footage of the mapping system that I have now since implemented. That's the main piece of progress that there has been. But in this footage, you'll also see the dash ability, which you can use to phase through walls and kill enemies, and it can also just speed up your movement to a certain extent. Um, and something I'll mention is that there are the occasional frame drops in the video, which is quite strange because the game itself is running really well and all the processing is getting done every frame well within a time limit that would start to affect performance. So I'm not sure it's something to do with the video recording, the screen recording software that I'm using. But anyway, I'll upload that now. Okay, so that is the mapping system as it currently stands for the one level that exists so far. So it is a hand-drawn map that I've then put through a bunch of filters on GIMP. Initially, it was more evidently hand-drawn, but it just really didn't suit uh, the display that comes up that looks like a screen. So I just gave it those like that texture of the kind of pixel lines across it, and then also made it blue. uh, and the way that it works is basically there was probably a really simple way to code it, or a way that would be very clever and involve a lot less labor. But this way I had a lot more control over it, I think. Uh, but basically, to determine where the player is on the map, there's just an object in each room that when you pause the game, it communicates to the map an X and Y coordinate just in pixels, and that's where it draws your cursor. And then it adds a bit of variability based on your position in that room, so it ends up emulating a more accurate position than just a room-based indicator of where you are. Because I had it set up as that initially, so it just said, oh, you're in this room. But when you've got more than one upgrade in a room and more than one exit, it's nice to know where you are in relation to those when you pause the game. So I just added that extra bit of variability. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with the way that works, and it'll be pretty easy to get that operating for any level that I design now. It'll just be a case of copying in and out a different hand-drawn image of the map for that area. So that'll be the first planet, the one that I've done there. It's going to be the smallest one, and it'll also have the densest collection of upgrades. I think because I want it to be harder to collect them in the later planets, and that will usually mean allowing more space between them, to really start emphasizing the speed component of the gameplay, because I don't want people to be rushing too much while they're still trying to get a feel for how the movement system works and how the aiming works and everything like that. So it's a bit more slower paced that first level, and if you get yourself into a sticky situation where you're running out of time and like the more enemies are starting to spawn, then that'll be because you've overreached rather than because you've failed to get to any of the upgrades in time. So yeah, that's done. It's taken me a lot longer than I anticipated because I've been doing lots of other things. But now I think the next step is making sure again that the game is actually fun, because that's all kind of meta stuff in a way, and it's peripheral to the core gameplay experience. And at the moment, I think the funnest thing is when you're like maybe locked onto something and jumping around it, doing platforming while shooting at it and kind of dashing at the same time. And I quite like killing things with the dash. That's quite fun, especially the bugs, because I've done that exploding animation for them that is quite satisfying. And I also like, I've made a few, they're not puzzles, but no, they're definitely not puzzles, because that would be counter to the time pressure that exists in the game, but kind of areas where when you look more closely at it, you realize that once you've got the dash ability, you can save time by just going through a wall rather than going around the whole thing. And then that, that allows you to progress further more quickly. My main concerns at the moment probably have to do with the controls. The jump, I want the character to feel very quick and small, and I think that's currently achieved, but the jump accelerates maybe too quickly, but if I slow it down, the character starts floating. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably my main thing that I'll be looking for with feedback when I start getting people to test it will be to do with the movement primarily. But yeah, that's all